Welcome, fellow compumans, and welcome to my top 5 guitarists and my top 10 vocalists. Number 5, Brian Head Welch. Yes, Brian Head Welch, of Korn or of his solo stuff or Love and Death, whatever you know him from. Brian has always had this amazing guitar sound, this amazing way of playing guitar that has always caught my ear. And I love how he kind of uses 6-string guitars and uses 7-string guitars. You know, he's more famous for playing with 7-string guitars than he is anything else. But nonetheless, he just has that melodic, rhythmic, demonic sometimes sound to it that just really drives home his talent. And I've always been a fan of his. I'll always be a fan of his. I just really love how he can play with the guitar, mold the guitar around both his playing style, but also he molds himself around the guitar. So the two kind of work together and continually form in this clay mold to really drive home the unique style that we have from Brian Head Welch today. Number 4, Kanami Tono. Kanami, for those of you who don't know who Kanami is, she is the guitarist, or one of the guitarists actually, from the Japanese band Bandmate, which I'm sure down the line I will get into them, because Bandmate is a very amazing group, just the same as Baby Metal is an amazing group, and I really would like to kind of delve into Bandmate a little bit down the line. So, why do I like Kanami's style so much? Well, for the mere fact that she's able to have this, she has the hard rock and heavy metal side in her, but the fact is, she actually, if you listen to the way she plays her music very closely, the thing is that she actually molds hard rock and heavy metal all into one song. And it's amazing that she's able to do that, because to be able to put that all in one song, you know, hard rock has its own style, has its own way of being. So does heavy metal. But with Kanami Tono, she does an amazing job in helping Bandmate have that hard rock sound while at the same time having that heavy metal sound. And they do an amazing job as it is. She's really got some amazing talent. In fact, the thing is the surprising side that I just discovered them this year. So, to say the least, when I discovered them, and I discovered them thanks to one of you guys suggesting it. I forget who suggested it. There are quite a few of you who suggested it, actually. But when I looked them up, because I hadn't heard about them, and when I looked them up and I heard their stuff, I was like an immediate fan. But at the same time, I was really listening for that certain style that I was looking for that made them who they are. And while I forget her name, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but while their other guitarist / vocalist does an amazing job, Kanami just has that style that really gives Bandmate their sound, and their unique sound at that. My number 3 guitarist, the good old Jimi Hendrix. if you're not a fan of Jimi Hendrix stuff, I don't know if you can be a guitarist, because Jimi Hendrix pioneered all sides of music, from funk to rock to even heavy metal. The thing is Jimmy is always going to be one of those guitarists. While he's also got vocals on his side as well, it's always going to be his guitar that he's always going to be well known for, because he was a master of creating his own style and really driving home who he was as a guitarist, who his being was as an artist. And I've always gravitated towards Jimmy's sound, towards Jimmy's style of playing on the guitar. Number 2, Takayoshi Omura. That's right, the guy who is become known as the god of guitar over in Japan, and as far as I'm concerned, all over the world, because at some point or another, people who are into metal music, people who are into rock music, people who are into guitars, I should say more, they all have this, they all have their favorite, guitarists, they all have their favorite bands. But the thing is, with Takayoshi, he has this style. He was, of course, influenced by the Western style of metal and hard rock, but today he has driven home his own style. On top of being both a solo artist in his own time and also being a part of Kami band for baby metal, their backing band, for those of you who do not know very well. Yes, Takayoshi Omura, when I found baby metal for the first time, I immediately went looking for who their main guitarist might be, and of course Takayoshi was the first name to come up. So I started looking at his more solo stuff. Maybe down the line I'll look at some of his more solo stuff, maybe some other stuff he's done. Takayoshi, number 2, he's just amazing guitarist, amazing form, amazing molding, beautiful sound. Our number 1 guitarist that has always been my personal influence in wanting to play guitar and keeping up on the metal scene, John 5. For those of you who don't know who John 5 is, well, he's both a solo guitarist, solo artist, and the guitarist for Rob Zombie. Yes, Rob met John 5, and when those two met, it was pretty well known between those two that those two were going to be playing together at some point. And so when John 5 came up in the picture, it just skyrocketed Rob's music to a whole other level. And then of course you got Piggy D and Ginger Fish in there to add, the extra parts in the song, the body parts of Rob's songs. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. Just adds upon why I'm still a Zombie fan to this day, and will continue to be till I'm gone off this planet. And the same with how Takayoshi has inspired me and kept me integrated with his stuff. John 5, when I found his solo stuff, I just became more of a fan. For those of you who have not seen John 5's stuff, both his solo and his work with Rob Zombie, I urge you to go check it out. I might put a link in the description to his own channel. My top 10 vocalists is a list that is a mishmash of icons, newbies, and just really good artists that mold their voices for the songs that they sing and do amazing work in doing so. Now you're gonna hear 3 names that you've heard quite a bit on my channel. You're gonna probably have your own things to say about it, that those 2 are only mainly backing vocalists, but they are also still vocalists. This is not lead vocals, this is vocalists. So, number 10, I'm just gonna get it kicked off right away. Amy Lee. For those of you who don't know who Amy Lee is, where have you been? Living under a rock these past, I don't know, about 15 plus years that she's been in the scene? Amy Lee of Evanescence. The first time I heard Evanescence, heard Amy Lee's amazing voice, it was either their song Going Under or Bring Me to Life. It was one of those 2. I can't remember off the top of my head which one it was, because they were kind of back to back on the radio when Evanescence was really, really big back in the early 2000s and mid 2000s. Amy Lee has that amazing, I almost hate to say it, but angelic voice, while at the same time having this very high energy, upbeat voice. You know, they have certain songs out there that are more sorrowful, more driving points to the emotions, and then they have the songs that are more upbeat and getting your energy going. So yeah, Amy Lee kind of rounds out my list. My number 9 vocalist, Jonathan Davis. For those of you who don't know, Jonathan Davis is the lead singer of Korn, and the way that he would be higher up on my list if it wasn't for the fact that, I don't know, for some reason Jonathan Davis kind of has that voice where he can throw it in different ways, and he can have this amazing clear voice, and then all of a sudden throw it into the demonic growl, working his voice to a point of where it sounds like it's just going to go, which is almost the same thing I can say for my number 8 vocalist. That is Corey Taylor. Corey Taylor, for those of you who don't know, is the lead singer of Stone Sour and Slipknot. But Corey has the same voice where he can drive home a very soft side of his voice and then get in the demonic growl. And that is just amazing to be able to do for a vocalist, to be able to interchange those two. But the way that his demonic growl is just more poignant than most is just, you know, you got to give it up to Corey Taylor for that, because he really does work hard in being the type of singer that he does. And the fact that his voice, much like Jonathan's, has changed over the years, and people have either been on one side of the fence of being happy with it, or being on the other side being unhappy with the change in their voices. Me personally, I just think Corey, the both of them in general, have gotten better as the years have gone on. They haven't gone down, you know, they've actually leveled up, and which is surprising that more people nowadays don't kind of see that and say, damn, those two have been working really hard at getting a lot better. Maybe I should listen to those two, and maybe I should see what other vocalists, what other groups are doing that in their style that they do and in their genre, and evolving it and trying to help this genre get better and get viewed in a better way. My number 7 vocalist is probably going to be one that surprises quite a few people. But my number 7 favorite vocalist, Johnny Cash. I have always gravitated towards Johnny Cash, and it's probably because of the movie Dawn of the Dead. He has that country side of him, you know, the more urban country style, but there's always been kind of the rock side in Johnny Cash that I don't think people talk about because, oh, Johnny Cash, he was only a country singer, you know, but I've never really saw him as just one genre. I feel that he was a crossover in both country and rock, just not real heavy rock like a lot of people view in the style of rock voices. Johnny just had that style that was all his own. He is instantly recognizable, much like Corey Taylor, Amy Lee, and Jonathan Davis have their recognizable voices. Johnny really has that recognizable, true to his tone voice, and just pure icon, pure legend. My number 6 vocalist is actually Yui Metal. Now, the fact remains here that I've talked about Yui Metal, Moa Metal, and Su Metal all in their own rights in the various videos that I've already done. For those of you who have seen those videos, you know what I'm talking about when I bring up Yui Metal's stuff and her vocals. But when you listen to her solo song with Baby Metal, if I remember correctly, Yui Metal's is Chikoto Love. That song shows Yui's solo talent in more ways than one, surprisingly. And the way that Yui kind of shows that she can, and the thing is those songs, those 3 solo songs of the three girls, they show that they can be on the stage alone and hold their own. I mean, Yui Metal and Moa Metal do have the backup dancers, but at the same time, both of them show that they can hold their own out there on that stage and keep the audience. I mean, they've had years behind in the business, but it can be pretty intimidating still. Even when you've been in the business for years, it can get intimidating. So they do an amazing job, and which I'm talking about Moa Metal at the same time I'm talking about Yui Metal, because Moa Metal is actually my number 5. Her solo song, Love Machine. When I first saw Love Machine, I just got this feeling that if Moa Metal had her own band, was the lead singer of her own band, that she would do just as good on her own, the same as Yui Metal would. But you cannot take away the fact that with Yui Metal and Moa Metal, along with Su Metal, being in that group, there's a reason why those 3 girls were picked to be in that group. And when you see their solo stuff, you notice why they were picked to be a part of that group. As well as being a part of Sakura Gakuen, you see it even more with Baby Metal, because it really shows the pure performance that those 2 have. And Moa, just amazing. She has what it takes to be able to be in her own spot. If that's what does happen eventually one day, if that does so be the course of her life, where they have to go off on their own stuff. You know, Yui Metal, Moa Metal both have their own opportunity in and of their own talents to be still who they are and maybe be a little bit more. Which, of course, is going to drive home number 4 with Su Metal. Su Metal is, I mean, there's just not a whole lot more I can say about Su that I haven't already boiled over before, because she's such an amazing vocalist as it is right now, that wherever her evolution takes her is going to be beyond comprehension, because Su Metal has pretty much always had the star quality in her, but at the same time, with Baby Metal, she's been able to shine very brightly, and her solo song is just as amazing in and of itself as being her own song. Su Metal, though, also has the opportunity, if it so goes down the road of what I've been talking about, you know, Su Metal does have the same opportunity to break free and be her own identity as well. While she's her own identity now with Baby Metal, because literally all 3 of them are allowed to show themselves, but they're still a part of a group, so they do have to kind of be that group and be Baby Metal while being themselves on stage and showing themselves for who they are and not shying away from still being the performers. Number 3 vocalist, David Draymond of Disturbed and or Device. Anybody who knows either side knows what I'm talking about. David Draymond, he has been able over the years to have his sound stay the same, but at the same time build upon it, evolve his voice, and it has created an even more driving home vocal style for David, that to the point of where if you hear a Disturbed song and you don't know that it's a Disturbed song with David singing, you might need to get your ears checked and your mind checked, because if you can't realize that this is a David Draymond song being played or a Disturbed song being played, then what's the point of what they're doing? Because they're very recognizable as a band, but at the same time, David Draymond by himself could have a whole solo career to himself and do just as good in that solo career as he's done with Disturbed. You can't say anything more than the fact that David has done an amazing job at being the vocal style that he is. Which, speaking of vocal style, brings me to my number 2. And this one's probably might surprise a few of you as well. But my number 2 is actually Alyssa White-Gluz. She, of course, is the lead singer of the well-known metal, death metal, whatever you want to call it, band Arch Enemy. Alyssa, when I first heard her, the way she does her growl, and the fact that she also can throw her voice in the more softer sound as well, but then really kick up the demon growl, the very hard demon growl in her voice. When I first heard her do that, when I first heard her sing, I was instantly like, wow, she's really, really good. And she's got a lot of talent, because to do that kind of style of singing takes a lot of work to build that voice up over time and over the years, because you can't just start doing that and be good at it. It takes destroying your voice and building it up, destroying your voice and building it up in order to get to the point where she has gotten, and a lot of days of resting the voice, because you're building your voice. Your voice is a muscle, and it's just like any other muscle. You got to rest it at points, because your voice will, if you continually hammer away at it, you will lose it. In some cases, it can be good for a voice, but in some cases, it can be very bad. In Alyssa's case, whatever she did to get to the point she is now, she did it great, because her growl and plus her singing voice is amazing. The non-surprising one, in my number one spot, Rob Zombie. Rob, when I first heard his vocal style, when I first heard that first song of his from his White Zombie days, More Human Than Human, I was instantly a fan, and I've stayed a fan all these years later, and I'm not going away as a fan yet. Rob, as the vocalist that he is, as the style of vocalist he is able to just perform in so many different high energy situations that it's amazing that he's only lost his voice one time over these years. I'm sure he's lost it more times than that, but he actually did lose it. It actually did go during a show, and which is not a good thing for any performer to have happen to him. But yeah, Rob will always be that one that has always made me want to start building my voice to be a vocalist and to be a singer. So that's my top 10 list and my top 5 list of guitarists and of vocalists. So I thank you everybody so much for watching. If you like this video, well, you can put a nice 4-leaf clover on that like button. I know it's not St. Patrick's Day. If you guys want to tell me your top 5 favorite guitarists or your top 10 vocalists, go ahead down in the comments down below. Always live on the edge. Always take care of each other. I know I said it backwards. I will see you in that next episode. See ya.